Delivering in Sinister shadows, 7 spine-chilling encounters that exposed the haunted unknown. Claire gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white as she navigated the dimly lit streets of Middle Grove. Every night, her late-night deliveries felt like a dance. The practiced rhythm soothed her. But tonight, shadows seemed to cling to her car like cloaks of dread. Something was off. A mouthful of unease lodged in her throat, and every house she passed looked too still, too silent. She glanced at her first delivery label and froze. "Watch your back." Her mind raced, dismissing it as teenage mischief, but it draped a cold film of anxiety over her. As she drove through the tree-lined street, the usual wave from her neighbors felt like an unsettling glare. When she arrived, Mr. Jensen stood waiting, his smile stretching painfully tight across his face. His eyes danced with something murky beneath the surface, a predator camouflaged among the kindly veneer of suburban life. Engines hummed lazily in the distance while her heart thumped loudly in her ears. With a polite nod, she handed him his package and felt a shiver snake down her spine as he murmured, "You be careful out there, Claire." Each stop that night disintegrated into a deeper pit of dread. Familiar faces morphed into strange masks, their smiles pinned unnaturally wide. As she approached the seemingly deserted street where another family had vanished just a month ago, weeds crawled up the forgotten sidewalk, giving her the impression of fingers reaching for her. The harmless faces of neighbors were now shadowed in a sinister light, their glances betraying a morbid curiosity about her. Then, she spotted it. The same silhouette, her neighbor, lurking ominously under a flickering streetlight. Something clutched in his hands glinted as it caught the light, a knife. Panic shot through her like ice. She could feel the weight of something vile creeping up on her, an unseen attention that pulled taut like a noose. Abandoning all thought, she sped past, her pulse quickening with every heartbeat. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the words faded, she felt an oppressive weight settle in the car, wrapping around her like a fog. The flickering porch light welcomed her home, but its glow danced unsettlingly, as if warning her away. Heart racing, she caught sight of a figure near her door. A shadow darted back into the dark. An icy dread punctured through her limbs, rooting her in place. What was happening? Why was this familiar place now suffocating her? Claire fumbled with her keys, adrenaline coursing through her, as she fought to ignore the gnawing terror. The moment she locked the door behind her, a prickly sense of unease invaded the quiet of her home. She barely breathed, her children safe in their beds yet completely unaware of the lurking darkness outside. The familiar comfort of her neighborhood had fractured into something unrecognizable. A sudden ping jolted her from her thoughts. An unknown message lit up her phone screen, "You shouldn't have come home." And with that, Claire understood, the horror she had felt transcended what lay ahead, it had seeped into her community. Now she was trapped, ensnared. Would she fight to uncover the truth, or would the shadows absorb her too? As her heart thudded in her chest, Claire stared at the phone screen, the glowing words almost pulsating with their sinister message. She felt the weight of dread settle deeper, wrapping around her like a strange embrace. She needed to think, to act, but her mind was a storm of panic and confusion. Taking a deep breath, she turned to check on her children. The soft sounds of their breathing came from the rooms down the hall, providing a strange comfort. But the thought of leaving them in a house with unknown dangers gnawed at her insides. What if the terror creeping through the neighborhood had found its way inside her own home? Suddenly, a loud bang jolted her. It echoed from the back of the house, a thud that sent ice through her veins. The darkness seemed to thicken, shade its secrets, and she felt the urge to run or hide surging inside her. Claire hesitated, heart racing. She could grab her phone and call for help, but who would she call? The police? They'd think she was overreacting. A single woman home alone at night, what would they say? A fleeting thought nagged at her, could someone be watching her? The way Mr. Jensen had smiled, that note, the shape lurking outside it felt personal. The creeping feeling of being hunted bubbled up, igniting her survival instinct. Swallowing hard, Claire tiptoed toward the kitchen. She could grab a knife for protection. The thought sent another wave of nausea through her. Protection against whom? Turning on the light seemed essential, but what if the exposure caused the shadows to strike back? Just then, another sound, this time a soft scrape against the back door, like fingernails on wood. Claire froze, instinctively pressing her back against the wall. Her breath quickened, each intake burned with fear. The kitchen felt like a prison, the shadows closing in as clammy sweat trickled down her back. Moving slowly, she reached for the kitchen knife, its cold metal pressing against her palm felt reassuring yet terrifying. As she stepped cautiously toward the door, adrenaline surged, empowering each footfall with an urgency she couldn't explain. She had to know, had to face whatever was tormenting her. Just as she reached the door, the handle began to turn. Panic surged, adrenaline flooded her veins. Claire gripped the knife tight, body coiling with readiness. There it was again, a message, vibrating in her pocket. She glanced down, her palms slick with sweat. "Don't open the door." The voice in her head screamed at her to run, but curiosity clawed at her mind. Who was sending these messages? What if the threat outside was just a figment of her fear? Summoning courage, Claire steadied herself, whispering a mantra against the unknown. She began to count silently, but just as she hit 3, the door was kicked open with a force that echoed through her bones. Light spilled into the darkness like an invading army, blinding her for a moment. Then a figure emerged, shrouded in shadows. "Hello, Claire." The figure rasped in a voice that chilled her to the core. The fear twisted her heart, a new realization dawned on her. Whoever this was, they knew her name. "Who are you?" she croaked, clutching the knife like a lifeline. The figure stepped forward, and for a second, everything hung precariously in the balance. "All your neighbors there waiting," he said, a grin twisting his features as he stepped fully into the light. In that moment, the mask of her hometown slipped away, revealing a malevolent truth. What had she stumbled into? With a jolt, Claire realized that the true nightmare was just beginning. She needed to escape, but could she outrun what had come to claim her? The figure stepped into the harsh light, and Claire's breath caught in her throat. The man was familiar, yet utterly menacing. Mr. Jensen. His smile twisted, revealing more of the darkness that thrummed beneath the surface. "Mr. Jensen?" she whispered, her voice quaking. "What do you want?" "Oh, it's not what I want, Claire." He leaned closer, the stench of stale cigarettes and sweat wrapping around her like a shroud. "It's what they want. Your precious sweetness is the only thing that matters now." "What are you talking about?" Panic clawed at her throat, choking her words. She gripped the knife harder, feeling the weight of desperation pushing her to act. "Your children," he said, voice dripping with malice. "They can't be left out. They have to join the fun, don't you think?" In an instant, Claire's instincts kicked in. She turned on her heel, darting toward the hallway leading to her children's rooms. "Don't you dare!" Mr. Jensen barked, his voice sharp and commanding, reverberating off the walls like thunder. Ignoring him, Claire raced through the darkness. The adrenaline coursed through her, every fiber in her being urging her to protect her kids. She flung open the door to her son's room. The bed was empty, no sign of him. "Jacob!" she yelled, fear slicing through her. No response. Heart pounding, she dashed down the hall, her mind racing. Where could they be? Something was terribly wrong. Suddenly, a soft giggle came from the bathroom, eerily out of place. She pushed the door open, revealing her daughter, Lily, sitting in the tub, laughing. Her blue eyes sparkled, but there was a strangeness to her joy, an unsettling echo that made Claire's stomach churn. "Lily, where's Jacob?" Claire demanded, kneeling beside the tub, grasping her daughter's shoulders. "He's playing, Mommy." With Mr. Jensen. A cold rush of horror flooded through Claire. She spun around, glancing over her shoulder. The bathroom light flickered ominously, casting dancing shadows. "Come here, sweetheart," Claire urged, her hands trembling as she tried to lift Lily from the tub. But the water didn't feel right, it felt heavy, almost as if it resisted her pull. "Not yet." Lily squealed, her laughter now sounding distorted. She splashed water at her mother, dancing gleefully with an almost unnatural energy. Claire's breath hitched. "Lily, please. We need to go." The door slammed shut with a deafening bang, and Claire staggered back, her heart racing. She beat against it, panic surging through her limbs. "Claire, they're waiting." Mr. Jensen's voice echoed through the door, cruel and taunting. Claire's eyes darted around the small, steamy room. She had to get out, had to save her children. Each passing moment twisted the tension further, coiling her emotions tightly till she could barely breathe. With a desperate scream, Claire lunged toward the window. A sharp crack filled the air as she kicked it in, shards of glass raining down into the darkness below. In that instant, she caught a glimpse of a shadow moving outside, a slithering mass of dread that sent chills racing down her spine. "Jacob!" she cried, her voice trembling. "Where are you?" The laughter from Lily turned sinister, echoing unnaturally in the cramped space. Claire turned back to her daughter, horror dancing in her chest. "What is happening?" she whispered, backing away slowly as Lily's smile widened, revealing teeth too sharp, too pointed. Something was changing inside the bathroom, warping the reality Claire knew. She gripped the edge of the sink, heart hammering. There were only moments left. Could she pull her daughter away from whatever spell bound her? With a surge of adrenaline, Claire lunged forward to grab Lily, ready to leap through the broken window, but as she reached out, the bathroom door creaked open, revealing a circle of shadowy figures standing in the living room, their faces hidden in darkness. "Join us," they murmured in unison, a chant that sank deep into her bones. Claire's world narrowed into a pinprick of terror. The figures loomed closer, stretching their arms toward her. She had to escape, but who was she really saving? As she wrestled with the nightmare unraveling, one thought lingered: how would she ever break the hold they had on her family? Just outside, the shadows stirred, ready to claim what was theirs. What had she truly awakened? The chant reverberated through the cramped space, an echo rising and falling like the tide, both terrifying and entrancing. Claire felt her heart pound in her throat, choking her, binding her to the moment. "Join us," they coaxed in a haunting harmony. Lily's laughter morphed into a high-pitched shriek, and Claire's resolve wavered like the flickering light. She squared her shoulders, gripping the knife in a white-knuckled grasp, but even that felt small against the darkness creeping closer. "Stop it!" Claire shouted, forcing every ounce of fury into her voice. "Lily, we need to go now." The bathroom air grew thick, almost viscous. Lily's eyes sparkled with an unsettling glint, her youthful innocence unraveling before Claire's very eyes. "Mommy, I can't leave. I want to play." "No!" Claire cried, stepping back, her breath quickening. She could feel the pull of the shadows surrounding them, twisting her reality with a sinister force. "You don't understand, they're not your friends." Suddenly, the shadows in the doorway shifted, billowing like smoke, their shapes mutating and reforming. Claire felt the cold seep into her bones. Jacob's absence felt like a gaping wound, leaving her raw and exposed. Where was he? Jacob. Desperation clawed at her voice, teetering on the edge of hysteria. The shadows undulated, whispering promises she couldn't comprehend. "Just let go," Claire. Mr. Jensen's voice sliced through the air, smooth but edged with venom. "They're just waiting for you to join. It can all be so much easier." Rage ignited inside her, hot and fierce. The shadows drew nearer, their fingers flickering like flame. Claire lunged forward, gripping Lily's hand with frantic urgency, determined to pull her away. "You have to listen to me. But as she clutched her daughter, the water in the tub surged up, swirling with eerie force, lashing at Claire's wrists like a living thing. "Stop! Let her go!" Lily giggled, but the sound twisted into something haunting. "No, Mommy. I want to stay." The words dripped with a love that felt false, as if they had been torn from her before they could settle in Claire's heart. "No." Claire fought against the pull of the tub, wrestling to lift her daughter out of the ominous water that seemed determined to swallow them both. The shadows sang, their voices thick with temptation. Join us suddenly, the lights blinked out, plunging the room into a terrifying blackness that smothered Claire's senses. Heart racing, she held her breath, trying to quiet the chaos whirling within. Lily's small hand slipped from her grip, and the darkness echoed with giggles that twisted and warped, a chorus of screams punctuating the silence. "I'm safe here. Lily." Panic surged through Claire. She woke up from her paralysis, her voice a drumming heartbeat in the stillness. "Come back." Fingers reached from the shadows, snatching at her. Claire felt bodies brush against her, the chilling touch crawling up her arms, invasive and suffocating. She swung the knife wildly, feeling the sting of air against her face. But Claire couldn't make out a thing. Instinctively, she backed toward the window, the shards still glimmering like teeth in the gloom. She needed to escape the growing dread, the call of those shadows clawing at her resolve. In that moment, she made a decision. "I will find you, Jacob." With a desperate scream, she leapt through the shattered window, escaping into the night, but the darkness clung to her, whispering promises of a truth she didn't want to know. Outside, the air was thick with tension and unspoken fears. The shadows followed through the glass, forever tethered. Panic surged anew as she struggled to regain her bearings. "Jacob! Where are you?" The silence responded with mocking jests, chilling her to the bone. Claire could feel their gaze cold, unfeeling, and hungry as they lingered in the house, aware of her fragile state, of what she had become. An ominous breeze swept through, wrapping around her like a predator's embrace. The night murmured secrets that danced around her. She was alone, but she had to keep moving. They were out there, the figures, the whispers. What awaited her on the other side of the darkness? The air quivered with unknown danger as Claire took a step forward. And the shadows stirred once more, patient and unyielding. Claire stumbled into the darkness, her heart racing as the shadows seemed to lurch forward, hungry for her fear. Breathing heavily, she strained her ears for any sound, anything that might guide her through the night. The air crackled with anxiety, she could almost hear the specter's whispers growing louder, a sinister invitation wrapped in promises of eternal connection. "Jacob!" she shouted, her voice thick with helplessness. Desperation clawed at her throat as she moved deeper into the trees that surrounded her home, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The moon cast a feeble glow, filtering through the foliage, creating a chiaroscuro of light and darkness that mirrored the conflict churning within her. A rustling nearby made her freeze. Fear coursed through her veins. "Lily?" she whispered, praying it was her daughter, that somehow, she had escaped the grip of the shadows. But the response came not in the form of her child, but a low, guttural chuckle, echoing from the depths of the forest. "Come play with us," the voice rasped, a chilling mimicry of her daughter's tone that sent shivers down Claire's spine. She clenched her teeth, fighting to quench the nausea rising within her. They had taken Lily, they were playing with her mind now. "No! Stay away from us!" Claire barked, backing away as the laughter echoed around her. Each mocking sound seemed to draw closer, a twisted game played under the cover of night. She turned to run, but the ground beneath her shifted. Rooted in fear, she stumbled on uneven ground, her foot catching on a protruding root. Claire crashed to the ground, slamming her palms into the earth as she tried to regain her balance. The forest swallowed her scream, wrapping it tightly in its suffocating cloak. Pushing herself up, she charged ahead, her breath jagged and desperate. Every shadow felt alive, coiling around her, whispering secrets she dared not understand. "Jacob!" She cried again, but the only reply was an unsettling rustle, the sound of retreating footfalls that made the hairs on her neck stand tall. And then she saw it, the old swing set in the clearing, swaying gently even without wind. Memories flooded back, summer spent with Jacob and Lily, laughter echoing sweetly through the air. But now, it appeared twisted, the chains rusted, and the swings creaked ominously, beckoning her closer. Trembling, Claire approached, the shadows swirling like smoke around her. She felt them pressing against her skin, the whispers tightening their grip. "Join us, join the game." No, she thought fiercely, inhaling sharply. She had to fight. Fighting meant hope. Beneath the swing, something glinted dark and jagged. Claire knelt, her heart pounding, and reached out. It was a broken piece of a photograph, the faces of her family smiling back at her, a still frame of pure joy. But in the corners, shadows lurked, twisted forms creeping in, threatening to invade their happiness. "Stop it!" she yelled at the shadows, clutching the shard in her fist. A flicker of courage ignited inside her. "You won't take them from me. I'll find them." The air grew colder as she rose to her feet, eyes scanning the horizon for any movement. The twisted laughter morphed into shrieks as if they felt her defiance. Claire took a step back, gripping the shard tightly, determination flooding her veins, but just as she turned to flee, something moved behind her, a figure emerging from the tangle of trees, swirling with an otherworldly grace. The features were indistinct, but the aura radiated darkness, an eternal shadow. Claire had whispered, voice smooth like silk, but laced with poison, "You're finally here." Her heart fell. The shadows danced, taunting her. She had to make a choice. Do I stand and fight, or do I run? In a split second of clarity, she made a decision that could lead to salvation or doom. "Come out, Jacob." Echoing through the oppressive darkness, the whisper washed away, leaving nothing but silence. And in that moment, she realized she may have just made the worst mistake of her life. What came next would decide everything. Claire's pulse quickened as silence smothered her, thick and foreboding. The oppressive darkness felt alive, its unseen eyes watching her every move. Heart hammering in her chest, she forced herself to breathe, each inhale sharp with dread. "Jacob." She called again, her voice barely above a whisper. A pang of desperation lanced through her, jagged as the shard in her fist. The shadows seemed to pulse in response, slithering closer, whispering secrets she didn't want to hear. Suddenly, the figure moved. It stepped forward, and the shadows behind it parted like dark waters. Claire's heart seized. This was no longer just a specter of fear, it was something real, something terrifyingly present. The form was cloaked, shifting like the undercurrents of a nightmare, and its eyes gleamed with a hollow hunger. "Join us," it hissed, the words curling like smoke in the air. It wasn't just one voice, it was a chorus of soft, mocking tones layered beneath that smooth facade. Voices, countless voices. It made her skin crawl. Instinct screamed at her to run, yet her feet felt anchored to the earth. "Where is my family?" she demanded, her voice shaking but fierce. The figure only smiled, a grin stretching across its shadowy face, and Claire shuddered. It was a smile devoid of warmth, a prelude to something wicked. Caught in the game it taunted, and Claire felt the world shift around her. The shadows seemed to writhe, echoing that phrase, blending and separating, each repetition carving deeper into her thoughts. "Stop it!" she shouted, the shard's edges pressing painfully into her palm, spurring her to action. David and Lily's faces flashed in her mind, and with them, a flicker of defiance ignited within her. With a sudden surge of courage, she lunged towards the figure, shouting, "I'll never join you." The impact of her words hung in the air, and for a moment, the whispers quieted, but the figure only laughed, a sound like ice shattering. "You have no choice, Claire," it purred, stepping closer, its presence growing unbearable. "You're already part of us." She staggered back, fear coursing through her veins like ice. The swing set creaked ominously in the background, the memories smothering her mind. Something caught her attention, a rustle in the trees, a flicker of movement. "Lily?" Claire called, desperation rising again. The silhouette paused, swirling like a storm about to break. Do you hear her? It purred, voice rich with malice. Your little girl is just behind that veil. So close, yet so far. Will you risk everything to reach her? Adrenaline surged, lifting Claire into motion. Get away from her. I'll find my family. As she turned, spaces in the shadows seemed to warp and twist, growing tighter around her. Echoes of laughter bubbled up like dark bile, accompanied by another sinister whisper. You're losing your way, Claire. Panic surged, flooding her senses with chaos. She sprinted through the clearing, each step feeling heavier, the ground threatening to swallow her whole. But as she reached the tree line, something tugged at her shirt, a cold grasp, firm and unyielding. Claire whirled around, her eyes wide with horror, only to face the figure now blocking her escape, its presence consuming the last remnants of light. Its face, a cascade of shadows, blurred, but she could see it was grinning, impossibly wide. We're all yours, it sneered, the familiar mockery of her daughter's laughter echoing in her ears, disorienting and cruel. A shudder ran through Claire as rage replaced her fear. You won't have her. I'll do whatever it takes. But the ground shook beneath her, sending her crashing to her knees. The darkness closed in like a vice, and she realized too late that she had walked willingly into its trap. With a shriek, the shadows surged forward, and Claire felt the world dissolve around her, plunging into the darkness that beckoned with seductive whispers. And in that moment, she knew one terrifying truth: Jacob and Lily weren't just lost in the darkness, they were part of it. What price would she pay to bring them back? Claire's world twisted and writhed in darkness, like a living organism sucking her in. The insidious whispers churned, clawing at her sanity, snatching at her thoughts. She couldn't see, couldn't hear anything but the sinister symphony surrounding her, a cacophony of scoffing laughter and ghostly giggles. The walls of shadows loomed closer, pressing against her until she thought she might burst. Panic throbbed through her temples. She pushed against the suffocating blackness, clawing her way through the void. Her heart raced, every instinct urging her to run, to escape, but where? The aura of the creature encircled her, heavy and suffocating. They're with me, it promised, the words oozing like thick molasses. Safe. Happy. No. She screamed, grounding herself with the shard clutched in her fist. The pain was real, and such small pain was better than this dread. Jacob. Lily. I will find you. The shadows shifted, reflections of mockery forming fleeting faces. Children's eyes gleamed within, wide and accusatory. Are you sure they want to come back, Claire? They spoke in distorted echoes, layering an ugly truth under her denial. The world began to tear apart, a focus formed in the distant darkness, a faint glimmer. A light, perhaps. It flickered, calling her. This way. Claire pushed forward, thrusting aside the sticky undulations of shadow, driven by hope that glimmered like a fragile candle flame against a storm. As she raced towards the signal, the ground beneath twisted malevolently, rocks shifting and snapping, attempting to ensnare her. She leaped over a jagged root, heart pounding against her ribcage while resolute determination fueled her legs. At last, she reached the edge of an expanse, where shadows rippled away in patterns that screamed in agony. This was a threshold. Beyond lay a nightmare swirling in a tempest, a horrific reflection of her own desperation. It was there, figures half-formed appeared, beckoning with clawed hands. Join us forever. They drifted like smoke, indistinct yet chillingly familiar. She could almost make out the lines of Jacob's face, the tilt of Lily's head, but despair clawed at her throat. This was a mirage, a cruel illusion thickening the dark. No. Not like this. She lashed out, every ounce of fury she had surging through her as she brandished the shard, its edge glinting against the distorted shapes. The laughter swelled, rising to a crescendo, sounding both like her children and a curse. They enjoy it here. You could too, Claire. Shadows circled her ankles, curling tighter with each moment she hesitated. Shut up. You don't know my family, she spat, the determination to protect what was left of her sanity bolstered by a flicker of anger. Yet in this dire place, doubt crept in: was she doing it for them, or herself? The ground shook violently again, shadows swirling, warping into a vortex before her as the floor cracked and ruptured. A crackling darkness unfurled, a realm beyond comprehension, and she felt its pull, its desire to consume her completely. "Fight it, Claire!" A whisper broke through, familiar and sweet, weaving through the gelid fingers reaching for her. "Lily!" she cried, eyes widening in dread and surprise. That voice! Hope rekindled like a match striking in the dark, but even as Claire grasped that fleeting connection, she felt herself being tugged backward, the darkness not only demanding but also promising a dark paradise filled with lost souls and forgotten memories. With a roar of defiance, Claire plunged forward, beyond that swirling temptation, driven by the hope of saving her family from this insidious fate. But as she hurled herself into that dim light, the darkness whispered back, a foreboding cackle that echoed through the void, "You think you can save them? Oh, dear Claire, they don't even want to be saved," and her heart sank. She realized, with horror, the game had far more rules than she dared to understand. What if the ones she loved no longer wanted her to come for them? In that moment of doubt, she hesitated, the shadows closing in once more. "What have I done?" she gasped, panicked realization crashing like waves against her, each shadow now stretched taller, more menacing. The scorn and laughter converged, threatening to swallow her whole. Would she muster the strength to confront the darkness within, both for herself and her family? What would it take to pull them back into the light? The answer lay just out of reach, cloaked in the suffocating fog of the unknown. The light wavered as Claire plunged into it, and the world shifted again. She felt a tug deep inside, a connection stronger than anything she had experienced. It pulled her through, a warm thread woven through the cold dread, until she broke free, a sudden burst into a landscape that was anything but familiar. A glowing, sickly green hue bathed everything around her. The ground was littered with twisted roots, gnarled tree trunks arching overhead like giants with their skeletal fingers outstretched, yearning for her. The air was thick with the scent of decay, sharp and suffocating, mixing grotesquely with the sweetness of something blooming nearby. "Lily! Jacob!" she called, each name echoing like a plea lost in the hollow air. Her voice trembled, and she strained to listen for a familiar reply, desperately hoping for any sound beyond the rustling leaves and distant whispers. Ahead, the landscape distorted. It twisted in upon itself, the ground rippling as if the earth were alive and breathing, heavy and filled with anticipation. Then, through the oppressive silence, she heard it, a soft giggle, unmistakably Lily's. Her heart surged, and with each nervous step, the laughter deepened, layers of it swirling around her. But it morphed, darkening, turning into the mockery of a child's laughter laced with malice. "Mommy!" it echoed, a refrain that sent chills down her spine. "Stay close!" Claire shouted, but she was yelling into a void. Fear drummed in her ears as another shadow shifted nearby. Something out there didn't want her to find her children. Shadows danced just beyond her reach, breathing in sync with her ragged breaths. "Can you hear me? I'm coming for you!" she cried, shoving her way through the creeping dread. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, to turn back to the fleeting light she had just left. Behind her, the laughter crescendoed. She spun around. "Stop!" She brandished the shard like a weapon, its edge glimmering ominously. Shapes formed within the darkness, cloaked figures morphing out of the heavy gloom, their eyes, black as coal, shimmered with hunger. "Join us, Claire," they chorused, their words smooth and oily, wrapping around her like chains. "We've been waiting." "No!" she shouted, teetering on the edge of her resolve. "I won." Racing forward, her senses flared. Each step grew heavier, as if she were running through water. The roots seemed to grab at her ankles, pulling her back. With a surge of energy, Claire ripped them free, willing the darkness to release her. She needed to find them, and then, as her heart thundered, she saw a flicker up ahead, a shadow darting between the trees. Was it them? She pushed toward the movement, fueled by a fierce desire, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Lily. Jacob. But another voice emerged, this one tinged with a twisted familiarity, slithering through the air like smoke. "Mommy, we're happy here." Claire stumbled, doubt seeping in. Were they really here, or were these illusions designed to shatter her will? "I'm coming. I will save you," she yelled defiantly, hoping they would hear her, that they would believe. The shadows erupted, swirling tails of darkness coiling around her as she ran. She felt fingers brushing against her skin, taut and icy, and she fought against the suffocating air that pressed against her lungs. With every ounce of strength, she prepared to confront whatever lay ahead, an echo of hope clinging to her sanity. But just as she reached the final barrier of shadows parting, everything went black. The laughter turned from malice to something sinister, a promise. "You can't escape, you'll always be ours." The ground trembled beneath her, splitting with a groan, a chasm opening, ready to swallow her whole. Claire held her breath, a desperate prayer forming. But could she really bring her children back from such a deep abyss, or would she be consumed by it too? Suddenly, a glimmer caught her eye, a flicker of something she thought she recognized. Was it either of them after all? The question screamed at her, echoing through the void. Lily, Jacob. But as the darkness roared around her, she realized the question might not just be about saving them. It might be about saving herself, too. What was the cost of love when weighed against the creeping abyss? With a heart full of dread, she plunged forward into the unknown. Claire gasped as the darkness enveloped her. It felt alive, pulsing and writhing, wrapping around her limbs like the hungry roots she had fought against. She squinted into the void, straining her senses. Any moment now, she expected to feel a sharp pull, the kind that would drag her deeper into despair. Instead, a glimmer flashed close, a fleeting memory glistening in the dark. A ghostly outline appeared, swirling like dust in a sunbeam. It looked like Lily's favorite stuffed animal, the one she carried everywhere, with its stitched smile and button eyes. Claire's heart raced, hope flickering like a dying candle. "Lily?" she called again, this time softer, reverently. The figure wavered, teasing her, and for a second, Claire almost reached out. But the laughter echoed again, wrapping around her, mocking her with that childlike tone twisted into malice. "Mommy, come play." She recoiled, fighting against the cold tendrils gripping her heart. "No!" Claire shouted, surprised at her own potency. "You're not my daughter." The laughter faded, replaced by a mournful wail that reverberated through the thick air, rattling her bones. Claire closed her eyes, pushing the rising panic deep inside. The presence around her changed. Whispers floated by like dark water, chilling her resolve. "Lily needs you to come. She likes it here. I won't abandon them. I will find you." Claire pressed forward, the shard gripped tightly. A fierce light ignited within her, pushing against the darkness. Suddenly, ahead, a bright burst cascaded through the shadows, illuminating a path. Claire hesitated, then charged toward the light, praying it wouldn't vanish as the others had. Every instinct urged her to run. The looming shadows clenched at her, pulling her back, urging her to submit. "Join us." But the path felt firm beneath her, almost comforting. Step by step, Claire continued, heart pounding as she approached the brilliance. Just before reaching it, she skidded to a halt. The light flickered, and from it, forms emerged. Faces she knew all too well, each looked lost and terrified. Jacob, arms outstretched, tears etched into his cheeks, and Lily, her little face twisted with fear. "Mommy!" they pleaded in unison. "Hold on, I'm coming!" Claire shouted, lunging toward them, but the faces warped, elongating into grotesque smirks. "You can't have them, Claire, not anymore." The ground trembled again, swallowing her hopes. Or were they just illusions? Doubt clawed at her mind. The whispering shadows twisted tighter around her, forming grotesque shapes that danced on the edges of the light. They reached for her, fingers curling in mocking invitation. "Stay with us, Claire, there's nothing left for you out there." The chorus of shadows seeped into her mind, tempting her with promises buried deep. The children's voices echoed, but clarity evaded her. Her breath came in jagged gasps. What if she was too late? What if pushing forward only led her to further despair? No. She slammed her hand against the ground, an act of defiance against the encroaching darkness. I will save them. With a sudden surge, the light exploded forth, blinding and furious, breaking chains that bound her. Claire stumbled, and the shadows recoiled, shrieking in anger. She could feel their rage, seething like hot coals. But the children's cries grew stronger, pulling her, guiding her. Mommy, please. Hold on. She shouted, and with a final lunge, threw herself towards them as the light beckoned with ferocity. The shadows howled, a cacophony of despair that struck her with icy tendrils, the last thread of hope snaking through her grasp. Just as she reached out, everything went white. Claire blinked, gasping for air, and saw them, right there, just out of reach, but, from behind her, a shivering whisper slithered through the air. You're never really free. Claire turned, her heart dropped. Was it over? Or had she merely swapped one nightmare for another? Claire's world spun back into focus, disoriented but alive. The air was thick and warm, contrasting sharply with the icy grip of the shadows she had just escaped. She felt solid ground beneath her feet, and as her heart quickened in hope, she locked eyes with her children. Lily. Jacob. She gasped, stretching her hands toward them, their little faces glowing in the tender light of dawn cascading through the cracked window. They looked frightened but safe, alive. Mommy. Lily squealed, her arms reaching out as Claire pulled her daughter into a fierce embrace. Jacob rushed forward, too, and she wrapped them both tightly, feeling their warmth seep through her skin. Thank goodness. Thank goodness, she murmured over and over, scanning every inch of their faces for signs of the darkness that had threatened to tear them apart, but something in the air shifted, and a chill crawled up her spine. The shadows from the house still loomed, ensnaring her thoughts for just a moment. She couldn't shake the sensation that they weren't gone, merely waiting. Mommy, we were playing. Lily giggled, still caught in the echoes of their twisted game. No. No more games. Claire cried, the harshness of her words wrapping around the shock of her relief. We have to get out of here. Now. Claire gathered her children's hands in hers, adrenaline fueling her as she yanked them toward the door. The sunlight poured in, burning away the remnants of the darkness that plagued her. But the whispers hung in the air, persistent and haunting. They had to leave before the shadows found a way to reclaim the light. Just outside, the world felt reborn. Birds chirped cheerfully, and the trees swayed gently in the breeze, oblivious to the nightmares that had unfolded just moments before. But Claire kept her pace fast, her heart still racing until they were safely away from the haunt of their home. Mommy, what happened? Jacob asked, his innocent eyes scanning her face. Claire hesitated, dread swirling within her. It's okay now, she lied, swallowing the bitter truth. She watched the house fade in the distance, the creeping darkness coiling in its shadows like a hidden serpent. We were lost, but we're together again. The echoes of Mr. Jensen's voice tainted her memory. She thought of the figures, those who had lingered in the dark, waiting. They had a game, an insidious invitation for her family to join. But she wouldn't let them. We need to tell someone, Claire said, determination coursing through her. We need to keep everyone safe. Her children nodded, oblivious to the gravity of her words but trusting their mother would guide them through. The sun glinted off her phone as she pulled it from her pocket, a lifeline, a way to reach out and warn others. Suddenly, the screen buzzed with a new message, "You'll never forget us." The hairs on her neck stood straight. Glaring at the screen, she felt the creeping realization that the darkness was far deeper than she had first understood. Just because they had escaped tonight didn't mean the shadows would simply fade away, and a voice resonated in her head, one of warning wrapped in cruel laughter. With steely resolve, Claire led her children away from their haunted home, determined to put the past behind them. But as they walked through the morning sun, the lingering tendrils of shadow clung to her thoughts, and she knew they weren't finished yet. Mommy, are we safe now? Lily asked, her soft voice breaking through Claire's troubled thoughts. Claire knelt to meet her children's wide eyes. "As long as we're together, we'll always fight to stay safe," she promised. Fear might return like an unwelcome guest, but she would be ready. Together, they stepped into the world beyond, hand in hand determined to embrace the light. No matter what lay in the dark, the sun shone brighter as they began anew, but in the depths of her heart, Claire knew she would always be on guard, ready for the shadows that waited just beyond sight, and as the camera panned up to the clear sky, the warning echoed softly, "You'll never truly escape, you need to subscribe now." This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button to feed the algorithm and never miss a chilling tale. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this shocking ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this story ends.